Good day, ma'am. My name is Jenny and Betty, and for this topic is about Chapter 16, Formalities of Entry in and Exit from the Philippines. So for the learning objectives, first is identify various government requirements for foreigners to enter the Philippines, explain the importance of a valid passport when traveling, enumerate the privileges of Filipinos covered by the Balikbayan program, and lastly discuss the dual citizenship law. For the topic outline, we have the admission requirements, admission of aliens under pre-arranged employment, admission under the Balikbayan program, Philippine immigration policy on non-immigrant Chinese, Philippine immigration policy on Indians, lifting immigration restrictions on South Africans, passport requirements, Philippine passport, fantasy passports or camouflage passports, visa requirements, treaty trader or treaty investor, Subic Special Investors Visa under RA 7227, Special Economic Zone Visa under RA 7916, Special Clerk Economic Zone Visas under Executive Order Number 80 as of 1993 and Executive Order Number 80 Section of 1993. Cagayan Economic Zone and Freeport Visa under RA 7922, Investor in Tourist-Related Project or Tourist Establishment under Executive Order Number 63, Additional Requirements prior to entry, Extension of Stay, Exclusion of Foreigners, Deportation of Foreigners, Detention of Foreign Travelers, and lastly, Exit Requirements. For the first topic, we have the admission requirements. Section 10, non-immigrants must present for admission into the Philippines an unexpired passports or official documents in the nature of passports issued by the government of the countries to which they owe allegiance, or other travel documents showing their origins and identity as prescribed by regulations, and valid passport visas granted by diplomatic or consular officers. Non-immigrants must present unexpired passports and valid visas prior to their admission into the Philippines. So the Philippine Immigration Act provides 7 visa categories for non-immigrants, namely, first, temporary visitor, second, transient, third, seaman, fourth, treaty trader or treaty investor, fifth, foreign government official, sixth, student, and seventh, pre-arranged employment. An alien is allowed only one immigration visa category at any given time. Next is admission of aliens under pre-arranged employment. For a foreign national to engage in gainful employment in the Philippines, they must secure a pre-arranged employment visa from the Philippines Consular Office authorized by the Commissioner of Immigration by proving key facts such as the nature of the work, the lack of qualified local workers, the duration and compensation of employment, and the public benefit of their entry. They must also submit various documentary requirements including certified employment contracts, qualifications, work permits, financial capacity of the employer, absence of derogatory records, tax payment proofs, and written undertakings not to engage in political activities or use the visa for purposes other than the approved employment. Next is admission under the Balikbayan program. So it means a Filipino citizen who has been continuously out of the Philippines for a period of at least 1 year, a Filipino overseas worker, or a former Filipino citizen and his family who had been naturalized in a foreign country and comes or returns to the Philippines. Those bearing foreign passports, with the exception of restricted nationals, shall be allowed, among others, visa-free entry to the Philippines for a period of 1 year. Philippine immigration policy on non-immigrant Chinese. The recent shifts in Philippine foreign policy toward China have led to updated immigration guidelines for 5 major Chinese groups, which are the PROC, Hong Kong's SAR, Macau SAR, Certificate of Identity Holders, and Taiwan. Chinese nationals can now enter the Philippines on temporary visitor or business visas with multiple entries for up to 6 months. Without prior DFA authorization by submitting the required documents, and they are granted an initial stay of 59 days whether traveling alone or in groups. Next is the Philippine immigration policy on Indians. Indian nationals can obtain temporary visitor visas to the Philippines if they apply from their country of origin, which is the India, or place of permanent residence, or if previously issued such as a visa, they may apply from a Philippine embassy or consulate in a third country as long as they have not been denied a visa, blacklisted, or deported from the Philippines. Next is lifting immigration restrictions on South Africans. On October 8, 1903, the UN General Assembly lifted all economic sanctions imposed against South Africa in the areas of trade, investment, finance, travel, and transportation. Hence, South Africans are no longer restricted aliens. Passport requirement is an official government-issued document proving a person's identity and nationality for international travel, and it remains the property of the issuing government. So there are three types, which is the diplomatic passports, which means for the top officials and diplomats. Second is the official passports. This is for the government officials on official but non-diplomatic missions. And lastly, the regular passports for private individuals or officials traveling for personal reasons. Aliens entering the Philippines must hold a passport or travel document valid for at least 6 months and must always carry it to avoid being considered undocumented. Carrying clear photocopies showing key details is recommended to help secure replacements if the original is lost. In case of passport lost, a non-immigrant alien must report it immediately to the nearest police authority, provide a copy of the report to the embassy or consulate, and notify the Bureau of Immigration. Next is the Philippine passport. A passport issued by the DFA certifies a person's Philippine citizenship for travel, while a travel document is a short-term certification for specific trips issued mainly to those with uncertain citizenship or in special cases, for example, Filipinos without a passport, alien spouses, permanent resident aliens, or stateless persons. Although a passport is strong proof of citizenship, entry can still be denied if the person fails to prove citizenship, makes false claims, or presents doubtful evidence. If a passport is lost, the holder must report it to the DFA or foreign post with a detailed affidavit, which is also forwarded to the NBI and Bureau of Immigration. A new passport is issued only after proof of loss and 15-day waiting period, though this can be waived by consular officials, especially for Filipinos returning home who may instead receive a travel document. If the lost passport is found, it is either destroyed or sent it to the holder if a replacement was not yet issued. Next is the fantasy passports or camouflage passports. So fantasy passports are not valid travel documents. So they are usually issued by a private individual or an organization, usually purporting to be from a fictitious or invented country, or the fantasy land or authority, a country that only once existed but no longer exists, or a self-appointed political group. Camouflage passports aid not legitimate travel documents. They are deceptive as they purport to be legitimate travel documents from countries which once existed or which have changed their names. The names of the camouflage passports generally have some basis in history or geography, if not in intentional recognition of their statehood. Visa requirements. So a visa is a written endorsement made on a travel document or passport by a consular official, denoting that the visa application has been properly examined and that the bearer is permitted to proceed to the country of his destination. The visa thus issued is not a guarantee that the holder will be automatically admitted into the country, because the admission of foreign nationals into the Philippines is a function of the immigration authorities at the port of entry. Next is a treaty trader or treaty investor. So a treaty trader is a foreigner entering the Philippines to engage in substantial trade under a commerce and navigation treaty, while a treaty investor seeks to develop and manage an enterprise where they or their employer has invested significant capital. So applicants must prove the enterprise is real, not fictitious, and provide evidence of no criminal record, no deportation history, and no dangerous diseases. So the visa is valid for 1 year. The Philippines has investment agreements with 32 countries, but currently only German, Japanese, and American nationals are eligible for this visa. Next is the Subic Special Investors Visa under RA 7227. So foreign nationals not categorized as restricted or as determined by the Department of Foreign Affairs visiting the civic freeport zone for business and or tourism purposes may be allowed to enter all ports of entry of the zone and stay therein without a visa for a maximum period of 14 days, provided that upon arrival they present their passports, certificates of identity, or travel documents valid for at least 6 months beyond the intended stay in the zone and confirmed onward flight tickets. Next is the Special Economic Zone visa under RA 7916. Investors in eco zones with an initial investment of at least $150,000 US dollar and with their spouses and dependent children under 21 can receive permanent resident status within the eco zone. So they have unrestricted entry and exit from the eco zone. The visa issues renewable working visas every 2 years to foreign executives and highly skilled aliens, certified by the Department of Labor and Employment. So these visas and permanent resident statuses must be reported to the Bureau of Immigration within 30 days. The employment of foreign nationals in supervisory, technical, or advisory roles in eco-zone enterprises is limited to 5% of the workforce unless authorized by the Secretary of Labor and Employment. Eco-zones are designated areas for industrial, commercial, tourism, banking, and financial activities including industrial estates, export processing zones, and free trade zones. Next is the Special Clark Economic Zone visas under Executive Order Number 80, Section of 1993. Foreign nationals visiting the Clark Eco Zone for business or tourism can stay up to 14 days without a visa, provided they have a valid passport, travel documents, and confirmed onward flight tickets. If visiting areas outside the main zone, such as the subzone, they must notify the Bureau of Immigration 24 hours in advance or inform the Clark Development Corporation in writing if 24 hours isn't possible. They must also be escorted by authorized PI personnel with 1 officer for every 10 visitors. If the stay exceeds 14 days, a visa waiver from the PI is required, endorsed by the CDC. Cagayan Economic Zone and Freeport Visa under RA 7922. So foreign investors who establish a business in the Cagayan Economic Zone with a capital investment of at least $150,000 are granted permanent residency status along with their spouse, dependents, and unmarried children under 21. They have unrestricted entry and exit from the zone. So the CEZA issues renewable working visas every 2 years to foreign executives and technicians with specialized skills unavailable in the Philippines as certified by the Department of Labor and Employment. The Bureau of Immigration must be notified within 30 days of these grants. So this does not affect a foreigner's ability to acquire permanent resident status under Philippine laws. Investor in tourist-related project or tourist establishment under Executive Order Number 63. An investor who invests at least $150,000 in the Philippines along with their spouse and unmarried minor children can obtain special investor resident visas as long as the investment remains active. They must meet certain conditions: no criminal conviction involving moral turpitude, no contagious or dangerous diseases, and no history of mental disorders. The investor must visit the country at least twice a year, staying a minimum of 7 days each visit. They are exempt from the immigration fees and registration requirements. If the investor withdraws or relocates the investment without approval, their visa may be revoked. The investor is also required to submit an annual report to confirm the investment is maintained. Next is additional requirements prior to entry. Non-immigrant foreigners entering the Philippines must present a valid return ticket to their country of origin or next destination. Certain non-immigrants, such as temporary visitors, students, and pre-arranged employment workers, must secure certificates of residence from the Bureau of Immigration. Additionally, foreign nationals aged 14 or older who plan to stay in the country for 30 days or more, or any child under 14 staying for 30 days or more, must be registered under the Alien Registration Act. A medical examination will be conducted for arriving aliens to assess their physical, mental health, and character. Aliens who do not meet health or character standards may be excluded from entry. Next is extension of stay. So non-immigrant visa holders planning to stay in the Philippines for more than 59 days must secure extensions and register with the Bureau of Immigration, paying the necessary fees. So the Commissioner of Immigration has the exclusive authority to grant extensions for temporary visitor stays, and the Secretary of Foreign Affairs is not authorized to admit or extend the stay of aliens in the Philippines. Exclusion of foreigners. Sovereign states have the discretion to determine whether an alien is eligible for entry based on potential risk to national security, public safety, public health, or public morals. Exclusion is the process of denying entry to aliens deemed ineligible under immigration laws. Exclusion grounds include public safety, health, and national security. An exclusion order is typically final and prevents entry, though it can be waived by the Commissioner of Immigration. The burden of proof lies with the alien to demonstrate that they do not fall under any of the exclusion categories. Next is the deportation of foreigners. So deportation is the expulsion of a foreigner who initially entered a country legally but whose presence becomes untenable due to serious violations of local laws. The power to deport lies with the state as part of its sovereign rights. Deportation can occur either by a presidential order or through the Commissioner of Immigration, based on recommendations from the Board of Commissioners. The deportation process is non-judicial, with the alien being informed of the grounds for deportation and given a hearing. In such proceedings, the burden of proof is on the alien to show they entered the country lawfully. Next is detention of foreign travelers. So under Section 6 of the Philippine Immigration Act of 1940, immigration officers can detain aliens aboard the vessel they arrived on to determine if they fall under excludable categories or if they qualify for an exclusion waiver. If the aliens are excludable, the vessel is responsible for their transportation costs. Additionally, government, medical, and current quarantine officers are authorized to examine arriving aliens for diseases or conditions that may disqualify them from entry. If such officers are unavailable, immigration authorities may use private physicians for assistance. Lastly is the exit requirements. So foreigners wishing to depart the Philippines must obtain a valid immigration clearance certificate or certificate of exemption, with failure to comply subject to penalties under the Immigration Act. The certificate helps immigration authorities monitor departures and is a key source of income for enforcing immigration laws. Exemptions include deported aliens, minors under 14, and a temporary visitor staying less than 15 days. However, no certificates will be issued to aliens with pending obligations to the Philippines, government, or those involved in ongoing legal proceedings. Aliens under a whole departure order are also ineligible for such certificates unless lifted by authorities. And departure control officers may prevent departure if the alien becomes disqualified or if the certificate was obtained fraudulently. And that would end my report. Thank you.